Over the last week, a number of small towns across the state of Texas have been the site of mass violence. First, Cleveland, Texas, near Houston. A man armed with an AR-15 style rifle shot and killed 5 people in a home, including a child, after his neighbors asked him to stop firing his gun near their home.
Breaking news out of Texas, where at least 5 people have been killed in a mass shooting at a home there in Cleveland. One of the victims, we've learned, just 8 years old.
Sheriff's deputies say the violence began when a neighbor asked the suspect to quiet down.
Then, just days later, at a strip mall in Allen, outside of Dallas, a man in a bulletproof vest opened fire on hundreds of people. He killed 8 of them.
We should be able to go outside and to go to concerts and go shopping and go grocery shopping and do things that we enjoy with our families, not have to be concerned to look over our shoulders and see if somebody is coming behind us with a gun.
I thought my life was going to end right there. I can't sleep. We've had to walk by 3 people laying there, dead. I can't remove those images from my head.
And this past Sunday, in the border town of Brownsville, a man drove his vehicle into a group of migrants outside a homeless shelter, killing 8 and injuring even more.
A Fox News alert, a deadly car crash in Texas along the southern border. So far, 7 dead, 11 injured.
The horrific aftermath on the streets of Brownsville, Texas, just miles from the southern border. After police say a man plowed his car into a group of pedestrians waiting at a bus stop, killing 7 and injuring at least 11 others. Migrants are among the dead.
In the aftermath of incidents like these, there's often video or images of the violence that goes viral. Whether it's a video shot by a student holed up in a school during a shooting, or shaky cell phone footage from the inside of a Walmart or a grocery store, it shows up in social media feeds at a fever pitch, and often without a lot of safeguards or any at all. And it's the accessibility of those graphic moments, the ones that show extreme violence, injury, and death, that's reigniting an ongoing debate. Who should be seeing images of mass violence? And who should be accountable for their distribution? In the last week, we saw a disturbing surveillance video released of the moment a man drove his SUV into a huddled group of people in Brownsville. Before that, we saw graphic images of children's bodies from the Allen shooting spread fast and wide on Twitter. And it all came without so much as a content warning. And if you didn't have autoplay off, a gruesome video of the tragedy played through. And that video from Allen, it's upset a lot of people. One Twitter user posted a screenshot of the beginning of the video warning people against it. Not only were these graphic images uncensored, but they were viewable on Twitter for hours and sometimes days. And as harsh as it might sound, some people who've been fighting for more gun control without progress are saying that maybe being inundated with these upsetting images is actually a necessary dose of reality. Fox News journalist Geraldo Rivera says, Twitter users objecting to gruesome images from Dallas and other mass killings. I say, let's see them so they're undeniable. And here's another one. I think everyone needs to see the horrors of high-velocity weapons. I'm so tired of Americans shielding their eyes. The thin line between public interest and public safety has been something that social media giants like Twitter and Meta and Reddit and Instagram have been struggling to reconcile for years. Videos of the killing of George Floyd, or the death of Freddie Gray in Baltimore, or even think of that photo of Alan Kurdi, the drowned Syrian boy whose body washed up on Turkish shores in 2015. They can stir the public to action, but they do depict the end of a life. For traditional media, these questions about what's appropriate and what's newsworthy, they're constantly being asked. It's often the case that media companies like the CBC will have extensive conversations about whether to publish a sensitive image or video. And even when journalists do make the decision to publish, there's usually a content warning. The rules governing social media, though, they're a little different. Twitter's terms of service says violent and graphic content isn't allowed. It lists 5 main categories with several points, and under the category of graphic violence, here's what they say is prohibited. Violent crimes or accidents, bodily fluids, including blood, serious physical harm, including visible wounds. The terms also say gratuitous gore is not allowed, so anything that depicts excessive or graphic or gruesome content related to death. We can obviously all go on Twitter's website and read these user terms, but the point that we're making is, despite despite their existence, these videos continue to come up. And so does the debate about how to effectively moderate the content. In order to better understand the world of regulation, I'm chatting with James Turk, director of the Center for Free Expression at Toronto Metropolitan University. Hi, James.
Hi, Lauren.
So we know that these images and videos are against Twitter's own terms of service. So why are they still circulating?
Well, there's been a long discussion in media for years now about what's appropriate to show to the public and what's not. It's come up with regard to coverage of wars, with murders and so forth. And different media outlets, different newspapers, different television stations or networks take different positions as to how much they should show the public.
Right. So how does that work then when it comes to social media companies? Should they be trusted to regulate themselves?
Well, I mean, that's the interesting question. Behind this is, what does the public have a right to see? If we say, well, we don't want to expose, as many media outlets do, we don't want to expose people to undue violence, horror, and so forth. Understand that, and a lot of people are very supportive of that. On the other hand, we don't want to sanitize how horrible war is or how horrible gun violence is. And so if you don't show any of the more gory consequences of mass murders because of the unrestricted use of guns in the United States, are you sanitizing something? So there's a real debate as to what the limits should be. And then it gets more complicated with social media platforms, where the social media platform doesn't put up the content. You and I and others put up the content, and then should they restrict what the public can see and what they not? And again, there's not an easy answer to that. A lot of people want to have the government restrict it, but if it's legal content, should we have private for-profit corporations that business model is based on outraging people, keeping their eyes on the site? Should we have them become the censors of society over things that are otherwise legal? So these are questions that we're wrestling with in Canada right now as to what that should be, and I don't think there's any agreement about that.
So, I mean, the government has tried to legislate it. There's been bills on the table. They haven't been gone through yet. But, what is the difficulty in kind of creating legal parameters around this kind of thing?
The government of Canada has had as a priority now for several years doing something about what's called online hate. There's a lot of horrible stuff that's on social media and on the digital platforms, and there's a lot of public demand to do something about that. In 2021, the federal government introduced some proposals to deal with that, and they were roundly trounced for a variety of reasons. And then the election came, and the prime minister during the election said that if his government was reelected, they were going to bring in legislation to regulate online harms within the first 100 days. Well, those 100 days have come and gone. They set up an expert panel of some truly distinguished Canadians to try to figure out what to do, and that panel couldn't agree. And the problem is, the very things that make the internet wonderful also make it terrible. So that the encryption and anonymity, which allows people to post things that they'd never say if they could be associated with it, and do terrible things in social media, also is what makes it safe for people in authoritarian countries to speak out, to try to bring about a more democratic, just society. So where to strike that balance? I mean, my view at the moment is that the regulation of social media platforms the legal restriction should be on prohibiting them from showing illegal content. So eliminate the illegal behavior, the illegal content, and otherwise leave it to people to decide what they want to watch and not watch.
All right, James Turk, an ongoing debate for sure. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Lauren. Bye-bye.